Welcome to the At Frequency Gardening Electroculture Quick Start program. It is yours truly, Spence, at Frequency Gardening on Instagram and social media. And in this video, I am going to be answering this question I saw online around how to get started with electroculture. Now, I am the first one to say electroculture is an extensive art and science. There's more information coming out every single day. There's innovation. There's tons of research, deep dive studies, all of that. But this video is going to focus on how do you get started with electroculture on a budget and get these antennas and simple systems into your garden so you can start growing more food with less effort and no chemicals by harnessing the energy, frequency, and vibration of the earth and the cosmos. Now, to me, electroculture is the art and science of intentionally directing the electromagnetic energy found all around us into your garden beds, so that you can utilize this electromagnetic fertilizer. Why would you want to do this? Well, it is free. It is no cost. It is found everywhere. It's going to allow your yields to increase, decrease any pests. It's going to help your soil biome. It can help you deal with the toxicity from geoengineering and all of that stuff. There's a lot of benefits out there. But for this small training, I'm going to assume that you're into electroculture, you want to get started, you're not needing to be convinced about it. I'm not here to convince anyone about electroculture. If you really want to see if it works or not, the best thing you can do is be like this person who asked this question and get started with it. Actually go out and start trying and seeing what happens when you do. Now, here's the question that we received. Hi all, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. I've watched various masterclasses and read files, but would love someone to be able to super simplify a way to get started with some electroculture and some garden pots. I grow a small amount, but I'm a busy mom with a 5-year-old baby and other children, and I'm second guessing everything. So if someone could simplify, that would be amazing. I'm ready to either buy copper wire or pre-made garden stakes. I'm in Canada, doesn't matter which way the spirals go. Do you have any recommendations on where I can buy pre-made, or is it worth making my own? I'm intrigued by Cloudbusters. I've seen some, but currently won't have the capacity to make those. Can I buy them somewhere, preferably in Canada? Because it's hard to buy them out of country these days. Thanks for suggestions, getting me out of overwhelm. So the first thing is amazing. You want to get started with electroculture. Congratulations, you're on the right path, and it can be a little bit overwhelming. I totally get that. So we're going to break it down very simply here. Now, I always say, if you can, make your own. Why? Because it gets you into the energy of creation. It allows you to go through the process and learning how these simple systems work. It's going to be more intuitive. Of course, I'm going to give you some options of where, if you want to go buy them, amazing. You can plug and play, you can order them, and someone else can make them for you, which is awesome. And that's all fine, but a lot of people want to get started and know how to make them themselves. And the bottom line is you're going to be able to make more antennas for the same price as going and buying them elsewhere. So it's going to give you more antennas, more simple systems to work with. We're going to look at 3 core ways you can get started with electroculture very simply. We're going to look at simple antennas. We're going to look at paramagnetic pylon cones and how to do makeshift cloudbusters. Then I'm going to throw in a bonus of how to get started with Lakhovsky coils, which are also very simple electroculture systems. So there are 3 types of simple antenna systems you can do. Number 1, a straight up copper rod or copper pipe. Number 2, copper wire plus dowel or bamboo. Number 3, copper rod plus copper wire, essentially combining A and B. Now, a copper rod is quite simple, and I know some people who swear by this, and it seems to work for them very well. It is simply placing a copper rod in the ground. I'm actually going to go over here if you want to follow along with me at Frequency Gardening, Instagram/Frequency Gardening. Here's just a super simple one that I experimented with in a friend's garden. And there's a few neat things on here, but we don't have to go into the complexity or anything around that. I took this 1-inch, 8-foot long piece of copper pipe. I put it in the center of the garden bed. I put it at least about a foot and a half down into the ground. And then I put a quartz crystal on the top. This is as simple as it gets, and this will work, and it is working. Very simple technology. The electromagnetic energy gets gathered and pulled in, and then down it comes into the soil. Very simple. So it's a copper rod. You can use thinner copper rods. They can be solid all the way through. This one isn't. This is more of a plumbing rod that is 1 inch diameter. Down it comes. You could even just take the crystal off if you wanted and just have that, and you're going to get some benefit and impact. Now, of course, can you get more complex? Absolutely. But if we're stripping it down to basics, put the copper rod in, it can work very well. Now, other systems are, we're going to jump over here to our frequency gardening Pinterest. If you're interested in anything electroculture, permaculture, frequency gardening, human health and consciousness, come on over to our Pinterest account, because I use this a lot in my trainings because it's a great way to gather resources on the internet. And you can come on down here to the Electroculture board and we'll look at just a few more examples and models. So this is one that is, you can buy these. Very simple. This is a combination. You can see it is a piece of copper pipe. This is probably 1-inch copper pipe. It'll be hollow all the way through, and they've twisted single-stranded copper wire around it and came up into a loop here. These would work great. Now, one thing to remember is when it comes to electroculture, we have to factor in the electromagnetic grid of the Earth. And the higher that you get the antenna, the more atmospheric energy you can harness. It goes up by 100 volts every meter. So these things are not even close to a meter. These things are, maybe half a meter. So you're only going to be tapping into about 50 volts. But that can be fine for a small area. I just want you to know that the higher you go, the more that you're going to tap into. Now, a question she had here is, what way do I curl them? Now, there is no blanket statement. I know people who will argue either way. My personal opinion is if you're getting started, wrap it clockwise. Wrap it clockwise. This will be perfect in about 75% of cases. I'm going to pull out paint here. We're going to let out the inner child for a moment here. Let's say this is your ground. What you're going to do is take your copper pipe. You're going to put it here. We're going to do the 3, and then I'm going to show you which way to wind it. So that, let's say, is just your plain copper rod. Then we're going to do a copper rod, but we're going to do a little bit of squiggling, and this is going to imitate the system going up like that, twisting around. And then we're going to have a piece of wood as more of a dowel. So you can use wood. A dowel you can get a bamboo stake from something like Dollarama. The dollar store have them. You go to Rona, Home Depot, anywhere, any kind of building center will have them. It's just got to be somewhat straight, and then you will wrap the copper wire around it like so, going up the copper wood and then out the top. I always say when you're getting started, make sure that you're putting this rod, the copper wire when you go up. It doesn't hurt to even go up a foot. Get it up there. Get that extra height if you can. And then a little pro tip is get a compass, find magnetic north, and then bend this tip at a 45-degree angle approximately towards magnetic north. This is going to work with the telluric currents. That is the currents that run all through the ground and the magnetics up here. And this is going to pull that in. And it's just essentially a little hack to give you a bit of a power boost. And we'll just say that this is off to north right there. So very, very simple system. Now, we're talking about which way you want to wind it. The best way to do this is to look from the top of your antenna. So pretend you are looking down like this, eagle's eye view. It's like the worst arrow ever. You can see I didn't do that well in paint class, if that was a thing when I was in grade 3. But let's say you're looking down, and this is a bird's eye view. You're going to want to wrap it clockwise, meaning starting looking down, start wrapping it clockwise like this. Now this makes sense because this feels like an inward spiral. Especially in North America, this is the way that water is going to go down the drain like this, right? Why do we do this? Because when we wrap it clockwise, the thought is that this is pulling the atmospheric energy down, pulling the atmospheric atmospheric energy down into the soil where it helps the biome. Now, why does it help the biome? Well, because the atmospheric energy is a positive charge, and the ground with the clay and the pebbles and stuff is typically a negative charge. How plant roots work is they want an electrical gradient between the positive and negative. So this atmospheric energy comes down into the soil, and it increases that gradient. This allows the root hairs, the root fibers, to gather more water, to have better nutrient uptake. What happens? Well, on the surface, you start getting better yield, better fruiting, better flavor. Now, there's a lot of science behind this. You got electroosmosis, electroprism, all kinds of stuff that are beyond the technicalities of just getting quick started. But if you do want to go into that, that information is absolutely out there. The science is absolutely out there. I just want to get you up and running. So let's go back and have a couple looks at different things. So again, if we were looking at these from the top, we'd be wanting them to go counter or clockwise all the way down. However, play with both. Do one that's counterclockwise and one that's clockwise. Remember, Earth is a living being. Nothing is static. So to say every single point on the Earth in the northern hemisphere year round and it's always counterclockwise, to me might not be the best situation. Personally, I've had some the garden beds that did much better with it counterclockwise. Now, the idea being like that's pulling up the telluric currents, the currents running through the Earth. However, part of what I get when I tune in with my guides and nature, right? Let nature lead. Always let nature lead. Is that it's like a human. You have all of these pores on your body. Not every single pore is emitting things out of your body the same way. Some of them are clogged. Some of them are different. Some of them are really healthy, whatever it may be. Some of them have a scab, whatever. It varies. And if you're in a small backyard, you need to make sure that you're honoring the fact that you might actually have a garden bed that has a vortex that might do better the other way. One simple way that you can find out that information is with dowsing, using dowsing rods and just asking questions. And when the dowsing rods cross, then you get your yes, no. If it's a cross, it's a yes. If it's a widening or nothing, it's a no. And asking question like, does this garden bed do I need to make my antenna clockwise to maximize atmospheric energy in this garden bed? Crosses, there you go. Now you have your information. Again, that's getting a little more technical beyond the beginner. So for the 75% of cases, I just say twist it clockwise, see what happens, and feel free to try one the other way. Everything is an experiment here. Be experimental, be curious, let your inner child out, and you're going to have more success with electroculture. Now, what are some other very simple rods that I have here that you can have a look at? See what else we have here. So we got someone doing something really basic here. So they're putting it in a wood holder. I wouldn't necessarily do this because as soon as you put it into the wood, unless it's going all the way through into the ground, it's not getting through to the ground. But you can see that they have decided, if we're looking down, this is curling clockwise, right? It's up here. It's going around, round. So that's just a very simple one. Nice heavy gauge wire. Now, there's different sizes of wire you can buy. I think for just getting started making your own dowels and things like that, 12 gauge is very nice. I would recommend going to Amazon for this. You can find a nice 12 gauge copper wire on here and get yourself as much as you can afford, 50 feet or whatever. You want to make sure it's 99% pure copper wire. It's a nice gauge to work with. It definitely doesn't hurt if you want to make stuff that is standalone. Like if you don't want to have a wooden dowel in the middle, an 8 gauge is nice. 8 gauge is pretty self-supporting. So yeah, look at this, dead soft, 6.5 feet. You can see though, the price point is going up. It's crazy. Copper and things are going up. You got to remember that because of nationalization of metals. They're not shipping metals nearly as much as they used to. So construction companies are stockpiling right now. That's why we're seeing all these costs soaring. But for 28 feet, you can definitely make several antennas yourself. It's a little tricky in Canada where we are because everything is crazy expensive with inflation in Canada and all the tariffs and whatnot. But if you can find this, amazing. Another place that can be good to look at can actually be you can utilize buying used copper wire off of something like Facebook Marketplace. So we'll go over to my Facebook. You guys can see the behind the scenes of my Facebook. I don't really care. I'm not on Facebook much, but if you want to be friends, you can find me at Spencer Raymond Madden there. We also do have a Facebook group, which is a great place to come. Just look up facebook.com/groups. See if it'll actually even let me in. Otherwise, we're just spinning around looking at my various accounts. How fun is that? Yeah, so you go to Marketplace, and this is important from a sourcing perspective because you can actually source wire very cheaply that is covered in plastic. So you go to Marketplace, this works so anywhere, look up copper wire, and you can find plastic wire, no problem, where it's covered. Like these kind of wires, this kind of wire here, electrical wires have a lot of copper in them. So you could go and buy, look at this, 12 AWG solid copper wire. You get this huge thing here for $85. Great. Well, you can do this. And what you do is you just take a knife, cut the plastic off. Cut off 10 feet, cut the plastic off, there you go. Or if you want, you can even leave the plastic on because that insulates it, and all you would actually do is cut off the first foot of plastic. That's the part that gets exposed up to the air. Keep the plastic on, and the stuff that goes into the ground, cut a bit off a foot at the end. Boom. Now you have an electroculture antenna. That's going to keep it it's going to keep it insulated, so that atmospheric energy that comes down the copper is not going to actually bleed off and have any leakage. So you can use this as a very cheap way, like 12, who knows, 475 feet for 12. You can do a lot with that, especially if you don't care what the looks are. That could be a really great way to actually get into electroculture at a good price point, is to work with plastic covered stuff as well. So that's an option for you as well. You can look up copper pipe. A lot of times there isn't copper pipe because people sell it for recycled scrap metal, but you can find little bits, something like this, 3/4 meter copper pipe, $30 a length. So yeah, that could be, you could use this. They're 11 feet long, so you could cut that in half. And if you wanted that, you could just use that by itself, or you could twist wire around it if you want. Now, a piece of this conversation that often gets missed, and it's very important if you want to take your paramagnetism and your ability for that electromagnetic energy to move through your soil. And this can be a way to make antennas that aren't maybe as tall, getting that high voltage, work very well. And purchasing basalt rock dust. So this is volcanic rock dust that's very beneficial for your soil. If you're in Canada, buy it from here, optimizeorganics.ca. You can get a bunch of it very cheap, and just get yourself, where is it here? Some basalt rock dust. Basalt has paramagnetic value that paramagnetism is necessary for electroculture. So get yourself a big bag of dust. And honestly, get like 10 kilograms. It's $40. There you go. What you can do is spread this basalt rock dust around your garden where the electroculture is going in. So let's get a new image here just so we can have some context. Let's say we have our ground here like this. We got our antenna. Maybe we're just going for a simple copper rod one like I showed you. It's like this high, let's say. It's, obviously it's going into the ground here. What you can do is get your basalt rock dust, and we'll just make it this stuff, and sprinkle it on the surface of your garden like this. If you're mixing things in new, sprinkle it around. And when you dig this electroculture antenna in, I want you to mix quite a bit of it all the way around here, and it's going to bring even more life force to it. So this is a great way to get more bang for your buck and have more potential growth and yields by utilizing volcanic rock dust. So go to optimizeorganics.ca. I'm not affiliated with them, but I think they're a good source in Canada. And I know this has a higher paramagnetic value, which is great. And there you go, 10 kilograms. Get that in there, you're going to have some good results. I'm going to show you how we can use this in the second one as well to get started with the paramagnetic pylons. Okay, so we've gone through our 3 different types. We've gone through clockwise. Oh, we talked about nature showing you. So one thing I just wanted to say is look at how nature is doing things. This can be a great way to find out some ideas around which way to spin your wires. Because some people go, oh, you got to spin them clockwise. And then I go and I look at nature on that site, and everything, nature is revealing that it should be counterclockwise. Well, why wouldn't you follow nature? A great one is if you have daisies. They're amazing for showing you the vortex because they have such beautiful sacred geometry in the center. They'll tell you every single time. Same with trees. Remember, trees are the ultimate cosmic antenna. If you see tree branches spiraling clockwise or counterclockwise, you can absolutely twist your wires that way. So daisies are great. Daisies are great. Look at this. So you have your beautiful daisy here. Well, if we start at the center, which way is it spiraling? It's spiraling out counterclockwise. So with plants, just look at it. If I'm looking down the center at it here, which way is the vortex going? You can see the grain is spiraling out like this. What is that? Counterclockwise or clockwise, excuse me. It's coming out clockwise. Well, if I was in this area with this daisy there and I had a garden bed, I would definitely be twisting them clockwise. However, you might find them going out the other way. Start at the center and just get the general flow of where it is. And this can take time to work up to, and tree branches will show you as well. Look for nature. Look for signs of how nature is revealing it, because not everything is equal. Let's just look at another one here. Just so you get the point of this. If this is a bird's eye view of your land or your backyard, there's things called earth sky chimneys, blind springs. Frequency gardening, like I talk about, looks at the seen and unseen realms. There's a lot of things, including the electromagnetic spectrum, that we're not seeing. And there's a lot of different variations on Earth that we're not taught in the classroom. So we need to know that this area here may have a vortex that's actually spiraling this way. Over here in your garden, it might actually be going this way. Well, if you want to have the most success of harmonizing your garden, don't go the opposite of what nature is showing you. But again, 75% of the times, just start with counterclockwise if we are looking down. Remember, get those things in deep a little bit. Now, before we move on from that, I'm going to show you a few more examples that I like. Here's what a more complex antenna looks like. You don't have to build these. These are for more advanced. Obviously, they gather a little bit better, but it's not important from a beginner quick start. I just want to get you up and running here as simple as possible. I had a good example here of someone who made some that were really simple. These are a few more complex ones. This is one I wanted to show you. So this one, you can make these very cheaply just to get started. This is a wooden dowel. Single strand copper wire going up, and then quartz crystal on the top. Quartz crystal is great because it has a piezoelectric effect. It amplifies the electromagnetic energy. So if you wrap a crystal like this, great. One thing I would do with this is I would make sure after I had wrapped the crystal that I brought the tip up of the wire at least another 6 inches and then bent it towards magnetic north. Put those into the ground. You'll be great. I would not use any other, to keep it simple, I'd only use clear quartz crystal for now. Just don't bother with anything else until you get a little bit more familiar with how the energetics of your land work. So very, very simple. Now, I think I saw an image here I wanted to show you, right? So this is just what I talked about with aether electricity, right? If you're standing there, 1 meter, 100 volts, 2 meters, 200 volts, 300 volts going up, you have 300 meters with the Eiffel Tower, you're now up, they're saying 30,000 volts once you're in that high in the air. Okay, amazing. So just to know that taller you go, the more volts there are going to be. And if you are ever confused around this, just please come to our Pinterest, have a look, pinterest.com/electroculture. We save all this stuff, and there's plenty of things we can go into. Electroculture, for me, frequency gardening is electroculture, the art and science of harnessing electromagnetic energy. Permaculture, designing food systems in harmony with nature, with design principles that mimic nature. And nature speak, which is the ability to communicate with nature and to receive nature's signs and signals and synchronicities directly from nature, both in the seen and unseen realms, including tapping into nature spirits and stuff like that. But right now, for how basic we want to keep it. There we go. Here's another great little example. This person has taken wood from their land, spiraling it up, and then they've twisted a few times. So this is another example of what you can do if you want to add a little bit. go ahead and add the twist. These don't even have to be that nice. You can make it how you want. If you want to make your twist nice though, all you need to do is put a little wooden dowel there and twist around the dowel and then remove the dowel. And you're totally fine. So those are the most basic ways to get started with your antennas. You can get started for almost pennies on the dollar, even in today's heightened price, and then get them into your garden, play around with them, and observe. And again, test one of the rods on the same type of plants, and then have to grow the same plants a little farther away and see what happens. And of course, please go to frequencygardening.com and share with me. Tag me at Frequency Gardening with any of the cool stuff that you do, because I'm always very interested and I will always reshare. Now, I want to talk about another great way to get started with electroculture, and that's called the Paramagnetic pylon cones. You can make these for very, very cheap, and you can make a bunch of them for very, very cheap. And it essentially involves making a mixture of 50% of Portland cement. This is the cement you get at Rona. You can buy 30 kilograms of it for like $25. So buy a bag of cement, make sure it's Portland, the very fine stuff, and then mix with 50% basalt rock dust. So I already showed you where to get that volcanic basalt rock dust, which has a paramagnetic factor to it. Paramagnetism means that when you place that cone on the soil by your plant, it's going to amplify the telluric currents, that is the currents that move through the earth, magnetic currents that move through the earth. You might have heard the Schumann resonance. It's amplifying that, and it's basically creating a toroidal field for you and your plants that are around it. So very simple. I love these. I make them all the time, and I'm going to show you a couple examples. They're actually based on the concept of the round tower, the Irish round tower brought forth by the Celtic farmers, very, very smart farmers in ancient Ireland, what we're calling Ireland now. And they often make them in little towers and cones, but we're going super simple today. So you can see this is the ancient towers. These towers were meant to amplify the currents around them and create abundance. They weren't for defense or anything like that. And you can make little towers like this. So this is a very simple tower. This is a little paramagnetic tower going up. They've made a nice little cap, and they've made it a nice little shape and painted it. So that's all you're making. And then you're just placing those in your gardens. No problem. Very easy. And you're using paramagnetic basalt rock dust. Again, we're not going to go into the total science of it, but basalt rock dust has a paramagnetic factor. I want to just see if there's a few more examples, because I want to see if there's some basic ones here. No, not in my pins. I just love Pinterest for teaching. I think it's such a great way to be able to look at what people are doing. You know, someone's made this one here. This is the same kind of thing. They just made a little cone mold. This is a paramagnetic tower, paramagnetic pyramid. So you can make a pyramid. Maybe if you have orgonite or something like that, molds, you can use those as well. But we're going to show you how to do it even more simply, because why not? So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go and show you the simplest, most ultra simple way to make these things. I love them. They're so simple. You're going to love it. There we go. I just took these because I'm working on a simple batch right now. Okay, so that's the first photo. So you're going to go to Dollarama, if you're in Canada, the dollar store, and you're going to buy a few of these. These are $1.25, even in today's day and age. It is a plastic pylon, the kind you'd have in your car. This makes an awesome paramagnetic pylon cone. What you're going to do is you're going to flip this cone upside down, and you are going to spray it with avocado oil. That is a release agent, so your cement doesn't stick to it. Spray it with the avocado oil. Then what you're going to do here, flip it, take a box, cut a hole in the box, use it as a holder, put it in, and then you're going to make up 50% basalt rock dust that I showed you from Optimized Organics or another source, 50% Portland cement. You're going to mix it up so it's thick like a cake batter, not too runny. You add a little water. Then you're going to put it in here. Put it inside your cone. Before you put your cone in the holder here, hold the pylon in the air with the with the mixture in there, shake it and take a little hammer or a rubber mallet and tap it on all the sides. Tap it for about a minute, and that is going to settle the cement and the mixture so you don't get bubbles. You're going to let this dry for 4 days. 4 days. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take it and you're going to gently pop the cone it out. Because there's an avocado spray in it, it's going to release. You might have to tap it a little bit more with a hammer. You might have to twist the plastic a little bit, but it's going to pop out, and then you're going to have this nice little paramagnetic cone. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to go to your garden with your paramagnetic cone, and you're going to put it up right side up. So obviously this is inverted right now. So you're going to put it up like a little tower temple, a little mini pyramid, and you're going to put it near your plants. Put it near some plants, see how much better it grows versus the other one. I would make 10 of these. Buy yourself a bag of Portland cement, buy yourself 10 kilograms of basalt rock dust, make yourself maybe about 5 of these cones, use the rest of the rock dust in your soil. Boom. Now you have a second electroculture system that's very, very simple. When this is drying, take a rag or paper towel soaked in water and drape it loosely over. Don't have it touching, but have it so it's over the top. This is going to help with the curing process. When you're looking at this, what are these? I've added lava rock. Lava rock has paramagnetic value, so I actually just add lava rock on the bottom just to let it absorb it and add more paramagnetic value. Very simple. I'm going to show you one more thing with these that can take it to the absolute next level, and we're going to use something called magnetite. Now, magnetite was studied by a man named Philip Callahan for quite a while, and he's an absolute wizard about paramagnetism. You don't need to go into the hows and whys it works. If you want to, absolutely, we can make more videos on that. I just want you to get this magnetite powder. This is going to up the ability of your system incredibly. Right here, Fe3O5 natural, $5, 28. Don't throw this into your soil. You're only using this in your, and you want it to be natural. You don't want it to be synthetic. I bought this recently, black iron oxide, Fe3O4. In fact, that thing I just showed you has some of it in there. Go and put, get a measuring cup out and put, maybe 2 or 3 generous level tablespoons into this mixture of 50% basalt, 50% rock dust, and that's going to take to the next level. So yeah, bonus 50% rock dust. One thing you can do too, you can also use glacier rock dust. Now, don't just use glacier rock dust. I've definitely found the paramagnetic value isn't quite as high, but you could do 50% Portland cement, 25% basalt rock dust, 25% glacier rock dust, and then I'll put here 2 tablespoons level of this. That is going to create your paramagnetic pylon cone. Absolutely awesome system for you to work. Now, we talked about Cloudbusters. Cloudbusters, we know, are amazing. They are the #1 way that I recommend for you to protect your land from chemtrails and keep your garden less toxin free. Obviously, toxins are coming down globally. They're in the trade winds. They're everywhere. Nobody's land is toxin free unless you're isolated in greenhouses. However, you can build things like this. This is a Cloudbuster. It works very well. It works with the organ energy of the earth, or the telluric currents of the earth, and essentially blasts up energy upwards that creates a bit of a dome over top of your land. So this is a Cloudbuster. You can see these can be a bit more expensive because they require orgonite, lots of copper. Copper's expensive. This is one that I just absolutely love. I'm working on building one similar to this, a little bit bigger. You can see it has the water here. This water helps it. You'll keep your skies very, very clear. Now, just remember, when you use a Cloudbuster, if anything, it's going to actually create beneficial rain because it helps harmonize the atmosphere. We're going to not go into the full depths of it. However, a great read, if you want to get into it, is go to archive.org, and this is free. Go to archive.org and look up Trevor James Constable. Trevor James Constable. Constable like a police officer. Let's go again. Trevor. And I know our question asker is very busy, but if you're thinking of putting a Cloudbuster in, it's good to understand some of the energetics of it, so that way you don't mess it up. And you go here. Intro to Ethic Rain Engineering is a good one. It's not quite the one I actually wanted. This guy went hard, did a lot of research. Okay, well, archive.org, you might be able to find it. What I'm trying to find is his book. It's called Weather Engineering. It has the word loom in it. I read it recently, and it's very good. And loom, let's just see what comes up if I put Trevor James Constable and loom. Yeah, the weather engineering work of Trevor James Constable. Okay, it's on Internet Archive. Yeah, so it is there. If you find it, Loom of the Future, it's called. Loom of the Future. Read this book. Loom of the Future, the weather engineering work of Trevor James Constable. Very, very important work. Check it out. Loom of the Future. That's going to give you a lot of great information to work with when you're doing Cloudbusters. However, we talked about she doesn't have the time, the ability to build it right now, which is fine. Things are busy. You can get busy. I want to show you what I call the Cultivate Elevate special. So you might have heard of Matt from Cultivate Elevate, a really smart guy, disrupting a lot in the matrix. He's got his brand at Cultivate Elevate. He has a makeshift copbuster that works really well. It's very simple, and if you want to just get started in your land to at least get some protection, here's how you do it. Number 1, dig a hole. Number 2, hammer a 4-foot piece of rebar into the center of the hole. Add a 8 to 12 foot, 1-inch diameter bigger copper rod pipe. Beside it, fill the hole with big rocks. Fill every morning with water. This will help disrupt the chemtrails above you and help your garden. If it's in the backyard, it's great because it doesn't look that big. What does this look like? We're going to take a couple different angles of it. This is called what I call the Cultivate Elevate Buster. So here we go. We got our ground here. What you've done is you've now gone in here and you've dug a hole into the ground. So dig a hole. Make it at least, dig it down like 1.5 feet, 18 to 2 feet. Get a piece of rebar. Rebar is very cheap. You can probably find it free if you go to a construction site. Hammer the rebar like this. So the rebar is basically being the solid piece that holds the Cloudbuster in place. So the rebar, whatever, it's like 2 feet up. It's 18 inches, then it's into the ground supported. It might even be 5 feet. Then you're going to take a piece of copper pipe like I was showing you. A good example is the one that is on my pinned post currently as of now. This is a really good size. It will work fine. If you can find a 2-inch piece of copper pipe, better. Don't go with 1.5-inch diameter, 3/4, a little small. But if you can find an inch or bigger like this, and it's not even that big, which is super cool. Let's find it here. Yeah, just like this. Just like this. Just a piece of copper pipe like this. Obviously, don't put the crystal on top for this method. Let's go back to our paint. So you now know you got your copper pipe. Even if you buy that new, that's going to be under $100 to get a new piece of copper pipe intact. You're going to go like this. Where it meets the bottom, you're going to go up like so. You're then going to zip tie here, 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 or you can tie it with galvanized wire or copper wire. Tie it a bunch. So now the copper pipe is nice and straight and up there in the sky. Then fill this with rocks. So go get some nice big rocks and go like this, rock 1, and just lean it against the copper like this. You're not filling it with soil. You're not filling it with small rocks. You're filling it with somewhat big rocks. And then every single morning when you get up, get your hose. Go to the top if you can, if you need a ladder, and pour water down the copper piece. Let it fill up all in the rocks here. If you can't reach up there, that's too much, that's fine. Just fill from here. Fill this up. This water will get pushed up by the energy of the earth up through the copper pipe, and it will help diffuse the chemtrails. That's a very basic system, but it works so well. This is a great reel here. We're going to watch it. So you can see very easy Cloudbuster. He's got his pipe in the ground. He's got some rocks in a hole. He's got it supported by rebar. He fills the pipe, and look, clear skies here, chemtrails around there, blasting some of those chemtrails down. If you have a small garden, this is going to definitely help for you there. You can go find this if you look up Matt Cultivate Elevate. Very simple. Look at that. Simple pipe. Not that big at all. Not that top. Try this out. It's going to work extremely well. And there's what I said, Loom of the Future, the weather engineering work. So you can go to Internet Archive and find that. No problem there. That's going to be a game changer for you. Now, if you wanted to build your Cloudbuster, I'm just going to say this for all the people out there who may have it, go to this website here, theorgondonor.com/downloads. This is Mitch, the Organ Donor. He's kind of well known for bringing Cloudbusters forward into mainstream consciousness. A bit of an interesting guy, has a good message for sure. Lots of podcasts out there. And he's got the plans. Pretty much all of you would start with the Don Croft Cloudbuster. Don Croft was a guy who took the William Reich, who did a lot of weather engineering research in the 50s and 60s, and put it into a very simple way. So you can see here, you can build something like this pretty cheaply. A lot of people make these mixtures very fancy, but if even in Canada, if you're willing to spend $1,000, $500, you can get these going for sure, which is awesome. You used to be able to build these things for pennies on the dollar, a little harder now, but if you know where to source these materials and resin, amazing. Highly recommend you use polyester resin versus epoxy resin, because epoxy resin doesn't squeeze and create the piezoelectric fix quite as much, but you can check this out. So organdonor.com/downloads, and then look up the Dawn Cloudbuster plan and get started. Very DIY. You can do it yourself. Now, of course, what if you wanted to buy a Cloudbuster? Because she asked about that. Go to etsy.com or etsy.ca if you're in Canada. And we're just going to see what's out there. And I'm going to show you how to analyze whether you should buy a Cloudbuster. Then we are going to wrap up these trainings. We're going to put Cloudbuster in here. Etsy is the place to buy this. You're probably not going to find it anywhere else, maybe eBay, but Etsy I find is a really good source for this kind of stuff. See what it comes up with. Obviously, you're paying someone to make it and materials and shipping, so that gets up a little bit more. Let's go filters and let's go dispatch from Canada, because you're in Canada, you don't want to pay the shipping, and then see what they have. So all kinds. You can see very small Cloudbusters here. These might not do too much. No, these are getting a little bit more fancy. Obviously, this one's like $4,000. I see this Scalar Orgon. This does some cool work. $1,000, you can get some of these. Again, at this point, I'd say probably design your own. So yeah, if you're in Canada, it doesn't look like there's too much for sale shipping from inside of Canada. But if you're willing to bring it in and import, well, it's going to open up a lot more. Of course, now you're getting into like something like this seems very affordable, probably works pretty well. Of course, this is outside of Canada, so you're paying a bit more, but you can see these are nice, small little Cloudbusters. You can make these on your own, right? If you want to not make a full Don Croft, you can make something like these, where they're only a couple feet tall. They got the orgonite base, and they just go up, and they have the 6 pipes. You set this in the ground. Ideally, if you can set it in a small pool and still have the orgonite connected to the earth, even better, because then you have the water just working and evaporating, being brought upwards. This is a very simple way. So you can see $350, you could get one. So I got a cobalt blue one. If I wanted to ship it, it's coming from the EU, so it's probably a little bit more. I don't know how much it wants to charge. You can see they got lots of good stones in it. Of course, the main ones is making sure that it has good, tensor rings and magnets. So they've definitely done some good stuff. 21 inches tall, so not that under 2 feet. You always want to read on Etsy to make sure it sounds good. Of course, it's saying the delivery cost to Canada is $80. So yeah, and it's not bad if you want for your own, I guess. For under $500 Canadian, you can have a little Cloudbuster going, and if it's a backyard, it's going to be first of all better than nothing. And I would say if you put this in your backyard and then had a couple of these makeshift ones, you're getting good coverage. For me, with what I do with clients inside the Frequency Gardening Academy, or people hire me for permaculture design and stuff, if they have the budget, we build a proper good Cloudbuster. We put it on a magnetic vortex somewhere on their land by Dowsing, so we know we're getting a lot of upward energy. And then you just build a couple support ones like this. If you have these on the perimeter of your property and a big Cloudbuster in the center, you're going to be well on your way to protecting it. So these are the easiest quick start ways to do it. The Elevate Special, the purchase one on Etsy, the Make with the Dawn Cloudbuster or Croft Plans. Let's talk about the Lakhovsky coil. This is a really simple way to add a fourth simple system to your Electroculture setup. So Lakhovsky coil, George Lakhovsky, definitely a legend, great researcher. And all you're doing with Lakhovsky coil is, so he created these generators here. Those are a little more advanced, the multi-wave oscillators. Multi-wave oscillators, that's something he did, but let's just find, this is a photo from his book. And this is it very, very simply. All he's done is it's essentially a horseshoe, almost a full complete circle of copper wire around a plant. I'm going to see if I can find a better image on Google for you. So you just get your copper wire and twist it in a little bit more than a horseshoe, and you can hang it off of your trees or branches. You can put it around the stem. Even these are just a little more complex than I wanted. Yeah, so this is what a Lakhovsky coil can look like. This is a braided one. You can see, very simple. It's copper wire. They've added a few twists of copper around here. And then what you do is you face the opening to magnetic north. You always face the opening to magnetic north. This creates a field in here that helps the plant. It helps the stem. It helps it grow. Here's a really good example. I like this one. This is what you want to do right here. So this is a Lakhovsky coil that I would recommend for you doing in the most basic way ever. So this is Sam Stonehill on peak.com. So he made a couple very simply where he just took wire that you bought and then he put a bunch of it together, wrapped them together, and then exposed the ends, because you got to expose the wire. And then look, he just hooked it around a tree. He has his wire going around a tree with the ends exposed, and it's creating an effect right here. And this would be magnetic north. So over where my mouse is would be magnetic north. So he's helping a tree right around. You make these for all your trees. Here's another example right here. Let's go over here. Oh, here's a good one too. You can use sticks if you want to hold it up. Of course, it can go. Okay, let's just see if we can just zoom in a little. So very simple. Lakhovsky coil, a bent piece of copper, magnetic north. It's being held up by a little V-stick. So you just wedge it in there. You can also take a little dowel, take an electric drill, drill a hole through it, and then make sure the hole is tight enough, just snug enough so you can slide the wire through, bend it towards each other so they're very close. This one you can see probably has a seedling below. They are just supporting with branch V's. I wouldn't cross it like this. I would leave it open so they're not quite touching, but people have different methods. Here's a good one. So all they've done is come off of a post, and then around it they go. Some people say bend it up at a 30-degree angle. Some people say bend it down at a 30-degree angle. Very simple ones with seedlings. These ones you can see are just still plastic in the plastic, which is fine. These people are putting it on the ground. All they've done is taken that wire that I showed you earlier that you can buy in bulk, and they've just bent it, the wire, curled it, and expose a little bit of the copper at the end, so they're almost touching. That's a Lakhovsky coil. You can see all he does here is he just cut his wire, has plastic on it, spliced away some of the ends and have them very close. And then you just put that around. Look, all he did was get skewers from the dollar store. He's got skewers from the dollar store, and it looks like he just kind of glued a little bit on one end, glued a little bit on either end, and then he's gone out and created it. So there you go. Here's this Lakhovsky coil going around the plant, and it's got glued on. And there you go. My personal thing that I would do with this is I would just get a slightly bigger wooden dowel and make your dowel, which you can get very cheaply. Just go like that, get a dowel, get a drill bit. This is going to simulate the drill right here. Make sure the drill bit is sized exactly to your copper wire, so you kind of have to force it through. And then easy enough, just make your Lakhovsky coil, put it through, and it comes around like this. It comes around like this. This little bit's exposed, this little bit's exposed. This could be, it's either all exposed if it's open copper wire, or if it's in plastic, it's just the end. And then boom, you got your little tree plant growing up through here. And it's getting all of this nice electromagnetic energy. So those are the 4 basic ways to get involved and to get this going when it comes to frequency gardening. Keep it simple, stupid, is what I always say, or keep it simple, silly. Recapping. We got our simple antennas. We got our paramagnetic pylon cones. We got our makeshift Cloudbuster, and we got our Lakhovsky coils. If you apply this, you can create absolute abundance. Now, we can go to the next level, absolutely. We can build the Lamborghinis. People hire me to build the Lamborghini models and systems and design it for them, which is amazing. But it doesn't have to be that complex. Start small and slow, the permaculture principle, and you'll have results. So this is Spence Madden. If you want to come talk to me, send me a message. If you got questions, you want to know something at Frequency Gardening. If you want to join what I'm up to, you can check out my links and all of that stuff coming up very soon. I have a really neat workshop called the Interdimensional Agriculture Workshop coming up around quantum farming technologies, going a little bit beyond what we talked about today, if that is of interest. And yeah, I'd love to see you take action with this wherever you are in the world. Tag your posts. Tag me at Frequency Gardening. I'll reshare it. And yeah, my inbox is always open. If you want to get a hold of me, it's hello at frequencygardening.com. And I'd love to hear from you. All right. Much love. Hope you enjoy this training. Hopefully it gets you started. And I'm excited for you to continue to create food sovereignty and abundance in these wild times happening on Earth. Have a great rest of your night or day or wherever you are in the world. I love you.